I am so glad you are here. It's Herby Thursday in our world here at Magus Books on December 12th, 2024, and I thought I would talk about a really cool traditional winter holiday herb. You probably already have it in your house, but I've got some cool suggestions for you about how you might use it both for food but for other stuff too. So that said, I am talking about Cinnamomum cassia, which food snobs are going to call cinnamon, and the rest of us are going to call, or I'm sorry, they're going to call it cassia. We're going to call it cinnamon, they're going to call it cassia, because there are these disagreements about Cinnamomum verum, which is a more complicated cinnamony taste, versus Cinnamomum cassia, which is what we all have labeled as cinnamon in our kitchens in America. That said, we sell it here in chip form, so it's in little chunks. So if you come to get it here, you're going to want to put it through a coffee grinder or a mortar and pestle for some of the suggestions I've got for you, because some of them really are for the powdered specifically. But it will be a little stronger because it's more whole. Something that's powdered really does lose a lot of its volatile oils, even when it's well stored, in under a year typically. Whereas the cut and sifted, because there's just less surface area, will retain more of those volatile components, the things that make the food smell good and play a big role in making food taste good will be there, excuse me. So cinnamon is a wonderful winter herb. One, because it's warming. If you're on the northern half of the planet, this is the coldest time of the year, or starting to be. And a little cinnamon can actually get the blood flowing out to the periphery from what we've seen and keep hands and feet warm, at least warmer midwinter. So it's not a bad choice. It's a great time for pumpkin spice, for chai spice, all of those kinds of hot, heating, warming, spicy blends. They're great. Because it's heating and warming, it's been thought of as being symbolic of the sun for a very long time, at least for the cultures that were importing it into those more northern climates. So that said, one of my favorite things to do, and it could just be a crafty thing, or it could be a little magical thing, is to powder up some of that nice, potent, chunky cinnamon bark, because it is the bark that we're using. That's the part you always get. That's what's called cinnamon. And mix it in with just enough applesauce to make like a dough, and then roll it out and grab your favorite cookie cutters, or if you want to freehand it, your favorite little utility knife, and cut out some cool shapes. Maybe you want to do some suns for the return of the sun, since it's symbolic of the sun. Maybe you want to do some stars for the same reason. Those are just distant suns, right? And you're going to let them dry. You can also bake them in a super low oven, like 200 degrees or so, 180 degrees, whatever the lowest setting is that your oven happens to give. And just keep an eye on them. You don't want to scorch them or burn them. Just check them every once in a while. But you want them to get basically crunchy. You want them to get too hard to eat. I usually roll them out, by the way, to somewhere in the vicinity of a 1/4 inch, maybe a little less, because I want them to last. So I roll them out. I use my cookie cutters, then I grab something, anything, could be a straw, could be a chopstick, anything you can use to create a hole at what's going to be the top of the ornament, because you're not going to be able to get a hole in there later, I'm going to warn you now. Bake them off or let them dry slowly. I recommend baking them off, or if you have a food dehydrator, you can use that. And once they're nice and dry and solid and you know they're golden, I usually get some metallic markers out at that point, some silver and gold and copper markers, and I mark them up. So I might put a spiral, or I might like draw the lines of the star or do an outline of a star on a star one. Or if I've done a sun with rays, maybe I'll just color in all the rays. If I've just done a round disc, maybe I will do a circle around the edge with a dot in the middle, because that's been a symbol of the sun for a very long time. But it's all about celebrating the return of warmth. We know the sun is going to start coming back to us on the northern side of the planet after winter solstice, the longest night of the year, right? The nights are going to start getting shorter soon. It's going to stay cold because it takes a while for the atmosphere to catch up, a few months for the atmosphere to catch up to the heat it's going to start getting more of. But you know there's hope because you know you survived the longest night. And I love that analogy. So if you're working with cinnamon, understand that it has a reputation of having some mildly supportive qualities to the pancreas. So for some people who are sensitive and diabetic, if you're working with cinnamon, you might be inhaling a little of the powder. If you're eating cinnamon treats, it can have an effect on blood sugar. It's actually probably one of the reasons that cinnamon rolls has been such an enduring treat for so many people, because while the cinnamon is not going to make up for all of that sugar, it helps a little. It takes a little of the edge off, according to a lot of the research that's been done, as well as the empirical knowledge that has been handed down for quite a while, quite a few hundred years now, at least in the traditions of herbalism I've studied. If not, well, in one case, a few thousand years, but they have stronger choices for the diabetic. If you're interested in knowing more about the medicinal side of herbs, I'd recommend an appointment or come and take the 3-year herbal course. It's a lot of fun. We always have a good time and we learn a ton of information. But I am way over my time, so sorry, I gotta run. This is Liz at Magus Books and Herbs in Minneapolis and at magusbooks.com. Come check us out. We're slowly getting our new platform online, sort of organized and ready to go. So every day there's some improvements usually to some section or another of the website. So come check it out. We love that you guys are responding so well because we're seeing more orders come in than we did on our old platform. So yay. I'm glad you're all enjoying the new platform. And hopefully I'll see you again next week. We'll talk about some energy work on Sunday, have a quick meditation on Monday, talk magic on Tuesday, and do the big show on Wednesday with some great guests coming up in the new year. Hang in there, everybody. Whew. It's going to be a wild ride, but we're in it together. So for now, blessed be.